Welcome back to the Caspa Silver YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk about how decentralization breeds chaos. On December 13th, 2010, Satoshi Nakamoto posted on the Bitcoin talk forum for the last time. He would pop up in emails here and there for a few months, but for the majority of the Bitcoin community, he was gone. Gavin Anderson was the chief scientist for the Bitcoin Foundation, previously a Bitcoin committer. Anderson resigned in 2014. In 2016, Anderson said that he believed that Craig Stephen Wright was Satoshi Nakamoto, and Craig Stephen Wright went on to make the Bitcoin SV network and also recently lost in a case where he was trying to prove that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. The trial concluded that he is not the creator of Bitcoin. On April 7th, 2014, Gavin Anderson stepped down from the position of core maintainer and nominated Lan as his successor. On January 21st, 2021, Lan also announced that he would be delegating his task and then eventually stepped down in the following 2 years. On February 2023, Lan removed his own merge privileges within the Bitcoin GitHub. Roger Ver was known as Bitcoin Jesus and is one of the earliest, most vocal, and most controversial investors in cryptocurrencies. And he was an investor in various crypto and blockchain projects, including Kraken, Purse.io, Blockchain.com, BitcoinStore.com, and Ripple. And he's best known for managing Bitcoin.com from 2015 to 2019. And as of recording, this is Bitcoin.com. And pretty much it's just a place to shill people into getting into crypto in general, and not so much just Bitcoin alone. It does focus on Bitcoin, but it also introduces people to other things other than Bitcoin. Roger Ver also earned the moniker Bitcoin Jesus because he acted as an evangelist on behalf of the cryptocurrency. Around 2017, the multi-millionaire Bitcoin advocate switched his allegiance to Bitcoin Cash, and as of today, Bitcoin Cash still exists and is still operational, but has never really been a good successor to Bitcoin and has always pretty much been a failure to what Bitcoin Cash was trying to achieve. In 2016, Mike Hearn, a core development of Bitcoin, also wrote this article and said the resolution of the Bitcoin experiment. He said, I've spent more than 5 years being a Bitcoin developer. The software I've written has been used by millions of users, hundreds of developers, and talks I've given have led directly to the creation of several startups. From the start, I've always said the same thing. Bitcoin is an experiment, and like all experiments, it can fail. But despite knowing that Bitcoin could fail, the now inescapable conclusion that it has failed still saddens me greatly. The fundamentals are broken, and whatever happens to the price in the short term, the long-term trend should probably be downwards. I will no longer be taking part in Bitcoin development and have sold all my coins. This was back in 2016. The price of Bitcoin was only about $400, and right after he made this article, he missed out on over a 4,000% gain. And of course, if we're going to today, he missed out on over 20,000 plus percent gain on Bitcoin. Litecoin is another cryptocurrency that was created by a person known as Charlie Lee, and Charlie Lee was basically known as the founder of Litecoin, and eventually the Litecoin founder Charlie Lee decided to sell all of his Litecoin. It says here the creator of Litecoin has sold off all his holdings in the cryptocurrency he created. Charlie Lee, who founded Litecoin in 2011, said on Reddit Wednesday that he had sold and donated all of his Litecoin tokens over the past few days, except for some physical ones he keeps as collectibles. Lee said he is sometimes accused of talking about the price of the digital currency on Twitter for personal benefit. Some people even think I short Litecoin, he said, so in a sense, it's a conflict of interest for me to hold Litecoin and tweet about it because I have so much influence. So you're probably wondering, what's the point? Why did I share all that with you? I just wanted to share that with you to show you how decentralization breeds chaos, and in the midst of that chaos, these things still exist. Bitcoin still exists, Litecoin still exists, Bitcoin Cash still exists. Now, of course, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Bitcoin SV have many people have concluded that they have pretty much failed, but Bitcoin, we can basically say that it has been a success so far, and it has been always increasing in value, and it's appeared as a successful invention. But through all those years, so much chaos happened, splits happened, disconnects happened, confusion, people disagreeing with each other. And this is because in a decentralized project like Bitcoin, There is no way to control perceptions and control the narrative. The narrative is always shifting. In the beginning, Bitcoin was money. It was digital currency. It was meant to be replacing the fiat that exists in our world. And today it's more viewed as digital gold. And it's pretty much impossible now to get out of that narrative, it seems. But there are people who are advocating for Bitcoin and who are still fighting for that original vision. People like me, I still want to hope that Bitcoin can have that original vision, but I personally just decided to move on and move over to Kaspa. And now let's fast forward to 2025 and the recent controversy that is happening within Kaspa. If you're not up to speed, I would highly recommend that you do watch this video unpacking the Kaspa X account name change controversy, because essentially what happened was the Kaspa X account that is on X, that is the most popular one and is largely attributed as being like an official account. Yonatan, the founder of Kaspa, decided that he doesn't like that it's appeared as official and decided to go in and change the name without any kind of consensus with the community. He just went ahead and changed it. And a lot of people went crazy about that. Even led to this article that he wrote that I highly recommend everyone reads. And it also admits that he is the reason for all this to happen. But this is all on purpose, in my opinion. I think this was all on purpose and planned. Read the sentence with me. He says here, to the extent that this saga turns into an identity crisis for many Kaspa fans, it is a long overdue one. He clearly states here that this needed to happen pretty much. He wanted this to happen pretty much. And he says here, there's a choice to be made. Are we here for the cozy feeling of a cohesive community with a welcoming center of the hub, or are we committed to penetrating the crypto, thence the broader market with a P2P electronic cash system and a trustworthy store of value? And he says at the bottom here, the existence of an official social account simply fails the gut check. Now this led for the Kaspa X account to basically not post anything for over a month. And then people started to realize and start bringing this up within the community. And it essentially just became this huge, big drama, which then led to Yonatan making a post here and starting to call out another individual who's a very active contributor to Kaspa, not so much in the coding side of Kaspa, but more so just in research and also explaining things about Kaspa, and that is none other than Shy. And in my opinion, took some jabs at Shy and said that Shy is basically just a YouTuber and he is not a core dev. And it seems that Yonatan was upset with the perception that Shy was giving off as if he was a core dev when he wasn't. And after reading this whole entire discussion here, I just responded to him because to me, Yonatan was just very confusing and contradicting himself throughout this whole entire message. And I say here, to me, you are contradicting yourself here. You want the account to be faceless, and I'm talking about the X account, but in line with what you want. This makes it your face or course face. I really think you need to remember the early days when you had to give up on DAG Labs. You probably need to give up the keys to this account. The way you speak makes it be that even you believe that it is official when your whole issue is that it shouldn't be. And this is basically my personal opinion about this matter, is that anytime Yonatan or Michael Sutton or any core people start talking about the X account and how the perceptions are bad, you are contradicting yourself and you're only bringing the wrong perception to light. You're only fueling the fire for more people to start looking at that account in a wrong way instead of just addressing the matter and saying, hey, this is an official account and that's the end of it. But unfortunately, Yonatan had the keys to this account. So by all means, it became a much bigger temptation for him to go ahead and change the name without any kind of consensus with the community. And the point that I was trying to really make to the community was that people need to realize that this X account is always going to be centralized and that there's always going to be players who are controlling it and have access to it. And people are mistaking it as something that the community can actually control. We can't. It's going to be a never-ending game, and we're going to be here time and time again if we continue thinking that this X account is possible to be controlled by all of us. That is impossible. We all have different views and opinions, and that's what happens in a decentralized project. And this is good. It actually encourages more avenues of discussion that then can lead to solutions. So personally, my solution was that we remove the link to this X account in the places that it is commonly found, like the Caspa website or CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, just to reduce the amount of attention on this account, because this account is so volatile. One day, one person thinks that it's not posting correctly, and whoever has the keys can just go ahead and stop posting on it. And then people think that this X account represents Caspa, and if it's not posting, this means that marketing is not good for Caspa, which couldn't be further from the truth. Marketing is all of us. Every time we make a video about Caspa, we talk about it on X, we talk about it on Instagram, we talk about it anywhere. That's marketing. Even when people are talking bad about Caspa, that's also marketing, because it's bringing eyes to Caspa, and all of us represent Caspa. There's not one single place that should represent Caspa. And if we do have that within Caspa, then Caspa will be doomed, because if Caspa's fate is determined upon a singular X account or a singular person, then we're in big trouble here. And we're basically going against what Caspa is for. As I have said, Yonatan seemed to have taken a jab at Shy, and then Michael Sutton went ahead and made his own post and decided to write a huge essay on a perception of Shy that isn't correct and he feels needs to be fixed, and he mentions it as the elephant in the room, and went ahead and just talked about Shy and basically just more so pushing him away and trying to get people to realize, hey, Shy is not a core developer. But I don't know why they're doing this, because like I said, I think they're contradicting themselves, and they're only making it worse when you point these things out instead of focusing on more important things. I, on this channel, has always told people that Shy is more of a core researcher. He's not a dev. He doesn't really code like that. Same with Yonatan. Yonatan doesn't code. He mainly researches and writes papers. And at the end of all of this conversation, Michael Sutton decides to say, I will stop responding on this matter for the time being. I describe a public perception problem, which I honestly don't know how to solve. I hope, Shy, you could find your way on this in the best way possible. I say here, it's honestly not something you solve. When you bring it to light, you only add a spotlight on something that the best thing to do is rather ignore it. Focus on other things so that those other things trump whatever it is you think is a problem. This is a decentralized project. It's impossible to successfully control perceptions. When Yonatan made this post over here, he says many community members have asked that I stay out of it, focus on research and development where we know what we are doing, and leave marketing to the experts. This demand is fair, but sadly impractical. I, for one, can say that if these are the faces of the project, I will not be able to continue contributing to it. So pick your poison: faceless marketing or core line marketing or disengaged core members. And like I said, this comment right here just contradicted himself, because his whole original goal was that the social media account should not be official. And he says here, the existence of an official social account simply fails the gut check. So in my opinion, I think what he should have done was just simply give up the keys to the account. It's because he controls it why he has this sense of he can make change to it. But at the end of the day, you can never successfully control perceptions. And then this went on to bad perceptions on Shy, and they not liking how Shy is perceived by people, that he may be related to Core, which is again something you can't fully control. And it eventually led Shy to distancing himself from Caspa, and he said, "Dear Cas community, this is a farewell." Now this is a very long post, and I'll leave the link to it down below so you can read it. But his farewell is not necessarily that he's never going to do anything for Caspa again. There's a lot of bad perceptions again of people thinking that Yonatan and Michael had some kind of authority and basically finally let Shy go or make him move on or something like that. But that's not possible. Caspa's decentralized. Anyone can contribute to it. Anyone can say anything about it, and you can't control that. And you just got to face that fact. And that's why even at the end here, he says here, first and foremost, I still have every faith that Caspa will be a huge success. It is a uniquely good project, the only one of its kind, destined for great things. All these petty squabbles will be forgotten by history very soon, but Caspa will prevail. And this is very true. I agree with Michael's assessment that Yonatan is one of the 3 brightest visionaries in all crypto, My own assessment is that Michael is one of the three brightest devs in all crypto. With these two guys at the helm, Caspa is going places, especially if they work on their communication issues. And it definitely doesn't end with these two. And this is super important because it shouldn't end with just two people. As we described in the beginning of the video, we talked about many people leaving Bitcoin Core, and yet Bitcoin still went on. And we cannot be reliant on individual people to ensure Caspa's success, because if it does, then we're practically centralized. He says, so no, I will not be selling. He also says here, I'm not going to disappear from the Caspa ecosystem or abandon any project I'm involved with. I still enjoy Caspa as a technology, and I dedicate many years to building my expertise around it. That's not a resource I'm going to let go to waste. I say that Caspa used to be my life, but now it's just my job. Want me to slay FUD or write a post? DM me, we can discuss prices. So Shai is still going to talk about Caspa when he feels like he wants to, but he's no longer going to always volunteer himself to do it. If you really want him to talk about something specific, he's just asking for payment, which by all means, he's free to do whatever he wants, as well as anyone else in the Caspa community. You could do whatever you want. You could speak about Caspa however you want. You can't control perceptions and you can't control people. So my assessment on this whole entire situation was that I didn't think Shao was specifically wrong in the situation. He had YS and MS come at him and make comments about him that just basically drove him to have to defend himself. And I value all of Shai's opinions when it's related to specifically Caspa. I was always able to move on from any kind of things that I dislike, especially with anyone, because there's always going to be someone that's going to say something you dislike. And if you can't move on from that, I mean, like, come on, like, you need to grow up. This is the internet. People are allowed to say whatever they want on the internet, and you shouldn't be emotional about it. I say here, unfortunately, in this space, people forget the very reason we are here, for decentralization and self-sovereignty. These two things transcends being overly focused on one single individual. No one behind Caspa is eternal. People will come and go. If Caspa absolutely needs a specific account profile or a specific person to survive, then it has completely lost in its purpose. I hope you stay and continue growing / working on Caspa Shai. Lastly, everyone on X that reads this, we are not the entire Caspa community. The entire community does not live on X. Caspa is, again, as I have said, bigger than our personal opinions on here. I'm able to move on from this because this doesn't define Caspa. Decentralization will breed chaos. This situation is a stress test on if Caspa can truly survive in a decentralized environment with so many different perspectives onwards. And this is just so true to me. In Caspa, there is no central authority that's going to be able to have the final word. And this type of perceptions and whether or not something looks good is going to happen on and on and on over Caspa. But you should not let that detour you from what Caspa fundamentally is to the world. Caspa is not excluding anyone. It's actually including everyone. And this situation is actually proving that in a decentralized environment that Caspa is, it's including people who don't even agree on a lot of things, but yet we still have one common agreement, and that we want Caspa to succeed. In the Bitcoin community, it is very common to start critiquing other Bitcoiners or other types of people. And currently in the Bitcoin community, there is a huge pushback against Bitcoin Core, the core people who have been behind the code for over 16 years. And it's because longevity does not mean future perfect results, and that they're always going to be right. And now even Bitcoin, large popular people like Bitcoin University, is trying to get people to turn away from Core because he believes, hey, Bitcoin Core is going rogue. They're going against what the majority of people usually thought about Bitcoin. And so in the Bitcoin community, there's tons of disconnects. And for anyone who thinks that Bitcoin doesn't have a people problem or something like that, where everyone in Bitcoin just kind of gets along, that can't be further from the truth. In that same article, Yonatan himself says that Caspa must Bitcoinize. And when he says this, he literally means that Caspa just needs to move away from figureheads and looking at people as the only source of trust in what Caspa is going to be for the future. These people are not eternal. No one in the Caspa community is eternal. What would happen if Yonatan said, I'm stepping away tomorrow? Would this mean Caspa's over? I hope it wouldn't be, but it is just something to think about. And this is exactly what sort of happened in Bitcoin. You had Satoshi, who was the person who brought Bitcoin to life, step away completely. Did that mean Bitcoin died? It actually didn't. It went on. It's important that we just remember what Kaspa is really here for. Kaspa is for all, and because Kaspa is decentralized, it brings freedom of thought and opinions, and we are not all going to agree on things. Tactical Investing here said the recent Kaspa drama is stupid, and hey, I would agree, it was kind of stupid. But Son of a Tech here says there's only one chain without a people problem, and I'm thinking he was referring to Bitcoin here, and I said, I think you're referring to Bitcoin here. The community is literally trying to get people to go against core and run another node over lines of code. What you are witnessing here is Kaspa being stress tested on its actual facelessness and decentralization. Is everyone capable of thinking for themselves, or is everyone reliant on one person thinking for them? This saga is simply history repeating. It's what led to all the Bitcoin forks, Litecoin founder dumping his position, and etc. All the other things that happens in decentralized projects. So I hope that I conveyed clearly here that decentralization is going to breed chaos. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I also hope I woke a lot of people up to this truth that decentralization is going to breed chaos, and that not everything is going to just be perfect in this community. But these things that happen don't literally define Kaspa. Kaspa is still doing what it's always going to do. It's going to produce 10 blocks per second every single day. And it's the best cryptocurrency in the world currently as a proof of work that is able to handle the masses and not restrict anyone from being able to practice self-sovereignty with their wealth. Before I go, I just want to let you guys know that I created a place where you can go ahead and book a whole entire meeting with me for 30 minutes or an hour, and I'll be happy to talk to you guys about anything related to Kaspa, like wallet setup support, running a Kaspa node, or even Kaspa mining. Just anything Kaspa related, I would be open to talking to you guys, and you can book a meeting with me by going to cal.com/Kaspa Silver, and the link for that will be down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new around here, and as always, don't be average, be different.